had came in just in the last couple of minutes, that if you do have a question or want to express a thought, if you could just state your name first, just so we can make sure we record that for the minutes. Okay, thank you. Then I think we are good to go, Bob.
All right. We'll call this meeting of the Mid-State Board to order. Roll call, please.
Robert Beaver.
Here.
Betty Brusky-Malik.
Yes.
Kristen Krass.
Here.
Craig Gerlach. Justin Herder.
Here.
Richard Merton.
Here.
Linnea Miller.
Here.
Gordon Shallow.
Here.
Charles Spargo.
Here.
The use of audio technology has confirmed that we have a quorum present of the board. Mr. Beaver, you can continue.
Okay. This meeting is April 20th, 2020 meeting of the Mid-State Technical College Board of Directors, and all other meetings of the board and or its committees is open to the public in compliance with state statutes. Notice of this meeting has been sent to news media and designated persons in an attempt to make decisions of Mid-State Technical College aware of the place, time, and agenda of the meeting. We now have time for an open forum. Is there anyone there in the room that would like to speak?
There is not, Bob.
If not, then let's go to the March 16th board meeting minutes. Excuse me. We need a motion and a second.
This is Betty. I'll move to approve.
Mr.
Miller,
Justin,
second.
I'll second.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, roll call for, excuse me. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. Action on a consent agenda item is payment of bills, contracted service agreements, procurement of goods and services. Do I have a motion and a second?
This is Chuck. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Second. This is Betty.
Any other further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Robert Beaver.
Yes.
Betty Brusky-Malik.
Yes.
Kristen Krass.
Yes.
Justin Herder.
Yes.
Richard Merton.
Yes.
Linnea Miller.
Yes.
Gordon Shallow.
Yes.
Charles Spargo.
Yes.
A chairperson's report. Welcome everyone who made it was able to make the meeting tonight. And there's different times, it's a different way, different struggle to get everybody together, as we all well know. The ACCC Leadership Congress will be September 30th to October 3rd in Chicago. Early registration is open. If you're interested, you're asked to work with Angie to confirm travel plans and make arrangements by June 15th or as soon as possible. There was a WTC, actually the Board Association Insurance Trust meeting here a couple weeks ago. Actually, it was on March 31st, I believe. And Betty had another meeting, so she asked if I would go. And just so you know, and I guess we're kind of asking if everybody thinks it's okay, the long and short of it is that they were looking for the DMI trust to put together, and if you aren't aware of it, they're the ones that have all of our property, fire, and so forth insurance for all 16 colleges. And the group was looking for a way to cover liability when we're producing products that are going to prove like PPE stuff for the hospitals and clinics and what have you, and like masks and gloves and what have you. So there was quite a lengthy discussion about it and how to handle it. And there were 4 or 5 that were already doing stuff, and they were going out. They were authorized to go out and get bids for the insurance. it looked like it was gonna be around $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per college. The thinking was that only the people who were producing the materials would pay. And I suggested to the group, and I also called Betty and told her, and Shelley as well, that I thought all the colleges should contribute to it, because we all could have, or in the future might have a hand in it. Plus, we're all in this thing together with this virus. So I just felt like we ought to all be in on the deal. Now, as it turns out, I'll let Shelley tell you what we're doing, but come back to us, even though we're not actually producing a product. So, Shelley, if you just kind of throw them in on that.
Yep, absolutely, Bob. So from a community support standpoint, we've been doing what we can around our 3D printers that we have on campus. There was a need to provide those to Create Portage County, where they are manufacturing PPE. So we were so happy that we were able to do that. In addition, our gloves and our masks and our gowns, we provided to local healthcare agencies. And I had asked Deb Stencil for just kind of a listing to show you throughout the district the resourcefulness that we're doing with our community partners. So that has been Wood County Health Department, Aspirus Riverview. Again, these are agencies and organizations that have received our gloves and masks. Gunderson, Mound View Hospital and Clinics, Adams County Health Department, Ascension Home Care, Marshfield Clinic Health System, Ascension St. Michael's Hospital. So I was really glad when Bob had called me to tell me that DMI was talking about this, because also at the president level, we were also talking about it.
And unless somebody objects, I think we should be able to find, $4,000 or $5,000, and the more colleges involved, the less cost it'll be for college. I think we just ought to go ahead and support it myself, but I certainly can't speak for the whole group. So if you have some objection, please raise it now, or if you have questions, please raise it now.
I completely support it, Bob, from a college standpoint. It's the right thing to do.
Thank you. So I guess, hearing no objections, let's just move forward then, Shelley.
Okay, we will do that.
Okay, we got that. Okay, the Springboard Advance has been canceled, as you know.
Can
and
you
moved to
back up,
fall.
Bob? This
Yes.
is Betty. Can we back up to the WTC District Boards Association meeting? Can
Yes,
I
ma'am.
put a little input in on our meeting that we didn't have in Milwaukee, but the board of directors met? And that's why Bob took my DMI insurance meeting, because the board of directors was meeting. We had started at 10 on that day. And as you can understand, usually by April we approve the DBA budget. And normally the budget has gone up by 2% each year. And back in January, we started discussing, why is it only 2%? Well, at some years it was less than 2, or it wasn't any increase in the budget. And then a couple of years ago, we decided on at least 2%. And we've done that in 19 and 20, or 18 and 19. And this year, Layla, who is our executive director of the association, is completing her 5th year. And the big discussion was a salary increase for her. The executive committee has been working March, April, and we came to an agreement with Layla on an increase. However, it wasn't a 2% or a 3% increase. Her increase amounted to 13.2%. Her salary went up from 143, 170 to 162 even. And she had given us comparables. She has been looking, So, discussing this among the colleges, among the board of directors, we felt that giving her an increase after 5 years was the right thing to do. Otherwise, we would be looking for another executive director. So overall, the budget was approved, and of course, that stirred up a bee's nest with Blackhawk. And Dr. Monda can fill you in more on their president from Blackhawk, his objection to DBA, and we could go into an awful lot of haranguing that's been going on. Blackhawk president feels that the president should see the DBA budget prior to DBA approving the budget. And we thought we were on the right track with the 2%. The overall increase for the proposed 2021 budget is 7.6. So that will affect all 16 colleges. And if any of you remember, Blackhawk tried desperately to get out of the association last year. And it's been very contentious with him. And let me read you what Layla sent today. We have been going back and forth about Blackhawk, and this is from Layla today. Other director members share my sentiments, which I had said, let them go. But that was my first instinct after reading her email. It is her strong preference that Blackhawk not be allowed to undermine the collaboration that is critical to so much of our system's success. So she will continue doing what she can, asking the presidents to speak to him, feeding accurate information to Laverne and the board about the benefits of collaboration and working hard toward lobbying wins. However, it is her read at this point that Tracy, who is the president, is unable to withdraw from DBA. Blackhawk needs to continue receiving funds through the collaboration metric of our outcomes based on the funding formula, or lose $160,000 a year in funding by choosing his next best metric. Earlier this year, Tracy had requested that Morna's board consider a change to that formula to allow him to leave the DBA in the marketing consortium and still claim collaboration funds. So for a variety of reasons, Morna declined to consider his request. So for now, we are at a stalemate. So I'm just informing you that the proposed budget, DBA's budget, has an increase of 7.6 for this coming year, with Layla getting a 13.2% increase and her staff 3% each. And we probably will hear more fallout about this budget, but it passed 15-0 with one college not being in attendance at this DBA Board of Directors meeting. And all I can tell you is the person that attends from Blackhawk, who usually is by himself, Laverne Hayes, has taken critical complaints from his board and from his president because he voted in favor of this 7.6% increase to the DBA's budget. Now that's the background. I voted in favor of it. I'm in favor of keeping Layla, and I thought it was the best thing for us to do at this point. So she's happy with the increase. It's not exactly what she wanted, but it's more in her favor than only a 3%. So that's my story.
Thanks, Betty. I was going to come to that, but I was going to make a bigger deal of it. So I'll leave that go, but I would ask that Shelley and Angie, can we put this subject about the association and the presidents and so forth on our next advance because there's a long history to a fight between, at one time, the presidents pretty much ran the Boards Association. There was a long struggle, and the Boards Association won and had some control and had some dealings with a state board, like with Morton and that group, that we didn't have in the mid 80s. And so we should talk about that. And I maybe can get, if anybody knows how to get a hold of Chris, he was in on that big time. Maybe Linnea could find out how to get a hold of him, and I would call him and have him come talk to us, or at least send us something about that, because he was involved. There were a number of, at that time, they were directors that worked very, very hard to get that leadership where the president dictated everything. The Boards Association has a hand in it. We work with the state board, and we work with the presidents, and it's worked well into what? This is our third or fourth decade now.
Correct.
This is just nonsense this guy's pulling on us. So,
But he's been doing this year after year after year.
and it's pretty personal with me. And when a guy like that comes in, anyway, I can talk about
Yep.
that in advance instead of beating the drum tonight.
And I am putting it on the agenda here. I'm making a note, Bob, so we'll make sure that we put it on for the board advance.
Okay. And if Linnea, if you know how to get a hold of Fritz or can find out, let me know, will you?
Are you talking about Fritz Wenzel?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
can find,
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
Now, the rest of my report. Thanks again, Betty.
Okay.
The spring advance was canceled. We're going to do it in the fall. The next meeting will be the 18th of May. It'll be at Rapids campus. We'll begin our committee meetings at 4:15, 5 o'clock for the regular meeting, for meeting of the whole, 5:20 for the regular meeting. And Shelley had kind of indicated to me she was nervous about whether we could have that meeting on campus or not. I would suggest, with what's going on, we may have to try to do something either by the phones or with distance learning, or with Microsoft meetings, or some GoToMeeting or something such as that. So let's go can we go from there? I guess that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely,
We're
Bob.
gonna forget what everybody looks like pretty soon if we don't get to meet together.
Yes, and then Angie and I were also just exploring some options. So with doing it virtual, if we do need to have a closed session, if we would be able to do that as well, possibly maybe calling in a different line, something like that. So we're going to have Angie and Karen explore some options for that. But I 100% agree that we want to make sure that with the order now extended, that we have options. And it would be good for everybody to see each other. So we definitely will look at that for the next time.
Thank
Okay,
you.
that concludes my meeting, my report. Shelley?
Bob, that was just a great segue to mine, because I was starting out my notes with saying that I think my middle name right now could be Microsoft Team, Zoom, Blue Jean, Blackboard Collaborate. Those are all the virtual softwares that all of us have been using here at the college since we have gone into our virtual environment, and that started on March 30th. It really has been everybody working from afar, but I want to just make sure that I say that we are working, and there's a lot that is occurring. I'm going to mention just a few meetings that I've been involved in, and I think it will really impress you what the staff are doing in these very much kind of uncharted waters that we are in. So even though our building campuses are closed, even with that, we have some things that are happening. A security installment is occurring, and I know Karen's going to give an update on that. But various staff are coming to the campus when it's necessary to make sure we're serving our students. So I want to make sure, though, that I publicly give a huge thank you to the IT team. Brad and his staff have been wonderful to make sure that we have the necessary technology and devices that we need to be able to keep doing our jobs. A huge thank you to Leanne and Steve and the educational service team, because we can have the devices, but if we don't know how to use it, that doesn't help. it really has been all hands on, the faculty with academics to student services, working with our community partners, working with our staff. We've done our best to really try to keep everybody engaged and in the loop. And during the discussion and action portion, I'll give you more detail on exactly what we've been doing. But just a few virtual meetings that I have been part of since the last board meeting that was on March 16th. So the executive leadership team, we are having weekly meetings. We really have not came back together since we closed our doors. And I think I'm just really impressed by that we've been able to continue to function and make decisions in the climate that we're on. Besides the executive leadership team, divisional, departmental meetings are occurring throughout the college. We do have our COVID-19 core team that is meeting frequently during the week. As you know, as you watch the news, things continue to change and we're continuing to adjust. Many times we are talking 2 or 3 times a day if the need arises. Faculty touch base meetings, which I think is so critical, and Deb and her team have done a wonderful job. Just on Friday, we had 38 faculty and staff that took advantage of the virtual just touch base meetings to kind of see how they're doing. So I think that really shows the engagement that our staff are exhibiting. Strategic planning sessions. So we're right in the middle of trying to set our direction for the next 5 years. You may recall we're going to be ending our year 5 of the 5-year strategic plan. And I think it would have been very easy for us to say, gosh, let's just go ahead and we'll wait with it. But we did not. And through the leadership of Beth Ellie and Deb and Sheila Cover, we have been having strategic planning sessions. So last week alone, we had over 20 people from the college that came together on 3 different days of the week for a total of over 7 hours and worked through all of the information, the themes that we heard from over 500 people who shared feedback. So again, we're continuing to move things along. The executive committee from the foundation also had their meeting last week from a virtual standpoint. Very sad to tell you that we did cancel the June golf outing just because it's the right thing to do right now. And we also were able to do some celebrations with our students. So Natasha, who's part of our student life, and Mandy, they were able to arrange our 1920 ambassador luncheon to basically, it's a time for us to thank our ambassadors for working so hard for us for the year. And we did that in a virtual format as well. So not only from an internal standpoint with virtual meetings, also doing a number of external meetings. So since the last meeting, I have been part of Willem had a president's meeting. I've been on United Way board meeting, Rotary meetings, and we have had many Presidential Association meetings, definitely talking about discussing the federal funding programs, which I'll share a little bit with you, discussing enrollment, talking about, again, how are we supporting the PPE around the state. I can tell you that this is a very interesting time. You may recall I'm going to be the new president of the President's Association, or the chair of that group, starting in June. So this is talk about a different time. So that will be something that's going to definitely keep me busy. And then numerous community COVID-19 response coordinator meetings. So Wood County has meetings, Portage County has meetings, been a number of webinars and so forth. Also wanted to mention, as far as our simulation center, I've had some people reach out on that. Due to the COVID-19 and the contractors not being able to get on site, it does appear that for sure we will not get into our simulation center until January at the earliest. And then depending on how long this goes, it definitely could delay it, a little bit more. So we're just continuing to stay connected with Aspirus, and I know they are doing everything that they can do. And then in closing, I wanted to let everyone know that I had received a letter that was addressed to myself and to the board and to the staff. And this came from Mr. Robert Beaver. This was a thank you again for the support on behalf of him receiving the Mound View Memorial Healthcare Foundation for the Lifetime Community Dedication Award. I just want to read just a couple sentences of that. Adams Friendship has been the home for our family for 34 years. We have had the opportunity to experience what a great community we have through the hospital, the schools, the Chamber of Commerce, environmental groups, and youth activities, just to name a few. We were welcomed and have been supported continuously throughout the years. A special thank you to all our relatives and many friends who have so generously contributed to our hospital foundation in my honor. The total received was $7,835, which will be used in the renovation of the surgical area, along with $87,000 raised by the foundation at the annual dinner auction. You are very welcome, Bob. We're so happy that you're the recipient of that prestigious award. And that would end my
Yay!
president's report. Yay!
I'm clapping.
Yeah, very nice. Very, very deserved. And that again would end my president's report, Bob. Unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Shelley. Chuck, you're back in Wisconsin, my friend.
I am, yes. Came back early.
And we're ready for your
closed.
wisdom and knowledge.
Thank you, but Rob is gonna take care of that for us.
The gentleman from Adams will yield to the gentleman from Clover. So we're going to try this virtually and see how it goes. As far as consent agenda items, our contracted services agreement, that's on page 20 if you've got it in front of you. You can see we had about $27,000 worth of contracts that we entered into in the month of March. That was spread over 2 communities, those being Stevens Point and Marshfield, most of them business and industry. And as far as what we sent out in March, there were about 3 items, and I think we're going to hear from Bobby. We're definitely seeing, not surprisingly, a pretty big impact from COVID shutdowns and everything. It's hard to deliver training, and it's hard to make proposals. So this is what we achieved in March. The second thing that I'll comment on is the procurement report. So that's page 21, so it should be at the very end of your packet. Nothing requiring board action for tonight, just a couple of informational items. One, we signed an agreement with Grounds Detail, so they keep our grounds nice and cleaned up in Rapids, do all the mowing and weeding and trimming and everything like that, so that's for the upcoming summer. We are going to be working with them to sort of scale back our services because we're in a pretty different atmosphere right now. So I don't know if it's going to be a whole $38,000, but it's signed and it's out there. The second thing is just some computer purchases to do a refresh in the I building. That's the Paragon Systems item for $28,000. I'll pause there and see if there are any comments or questions. Okay. Now if we go to page 16, that's the budget modifications. This is very unusual. We actually didn't have any budget modifications for the month of March. I think that's the first time I've seen it in 3.5 years, so I guess we were due, but there's really nothing to talk about as far as budget amendments for the month of March. Page 17 is the budget as it stands now, so really no change from last month. Page 18 is a little more interesting. So this is our spending for the fiscal year, so the first 9 months. Question? Okay. Our spending for the first 9 months of the year, so 9 out of 12, that's 75% of the year. Typically what I share with the Finance and Infrastructure Committee is how we're doing with our current expenditures. If you want to try and find it in Fund 1, about halfway down the page, the current expenditures are at $3.9 million, $3,935,000. If you did the math, that's about 64% of our budget has been spent, and we're 75% of the way through the year. So it feels like we're on track to meet our budget, maybe a little bit below, but of course we're in pretty uncertain times, so the forecasting is pretty interesting right now. One comment I'll make before I move off this page. Typically when Chuck talks about the Treasurer's report, he talks about where we are with revenue. So if you go all the way over to the right side of the page, we recognize 90% of our revenue, our budgeted revenue for the year, and our expenses are about 75.8%. And again, they don't track perfectly throughout the year. They're not perfectly linear, but that's pretty much in line with what we'd expect to see. The last item that I usually touch on with the committee is the balance sheet. Just looking at our cash and investments, we're at $24 million, which is compares almost pretty close to where we were last year. Any comments or questions?
I have a question. This is Betty.
Okay.
Rob, with the legislature passing Act 185, which allows to extend the final payment on tax installments from July 31st to October 1st, that doesn't affect any of the payments to the colleges, does it?
Well,
Property tax.
no, I know, I understand the question. I'm just trying to figure out how to answer it. I could probably just give an opinion. It could, if they start collecting later, and we don't actually get our money, that could affect us.
Well, that's what the county is asking municipalities. Are we in favor of it? Would we, if they approve it, would we be in favor of it? I guess.
Right. And so Midstate had a person on the call at 4 o'clock today, and
Okay.
basically what we said is I don't know how much detail we gave because I wasn't personally on the call, but in August we are somewhat flush with tuition receipts. So if we get the payments in a little bit later than August, we're probably okay. But Chuck and some of you might know, we're pretty cash poor in the December or January timeframe. So
Yeah.
if they start delaying the receipts from property taxes out of January, then it's a different discussion. So that's what we said. So we're okay for this one, but less okay with doing it in January.
Okay. Just let us know what's going on.
Yeah, that was hot off the press. That was this morning.
Rob, if you get that all figured out, you should let all of us know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I can't stress enough. These are crazy times.
Yeah.
I think that was everything I wanted to cover on the treasurer's report. Are there any additional questions? If not, I'm going to turn it over to Matt. He's going to talk a little bit about some of the projects that we have in place to address the Office of Civil Rights audit that we had last fall.
Yep, thanks, Rob. Hi, everybody. This is Matt.
Hello, Matt.
Hello. About every
I
8
can't
years.
even harass you, Matt. What's the deal
Nope.
here?
Not in person, Rob. Sorry. And you don't have to reach. Apparently, you could still do it verbally, though. Yeah. Okay. So we've got 2 bids. We had a couple of projects. The fore end of this is recently the WTCS, our system, comes through about every 8 years. They touch every college. So our cycle is about every 8 years. They come through and they do an inspection, basically on behalf of the Office of Civil Rights. And when they do that, they just identify things that make our campus, and it's not all just facilities. My part of it clearly makes our campus more student centered, more accessible, for students, whether it's access to financial aid or, ADA compliance, things like that. When they came through most recently, they identified several things, and we put together 2 sets of plans for bids, put those out for bids, and we received those bids last Wednesday. And so in order to make the corrections that are required within a 2-year period. If you'll look at your attachments, these 2 bids were identified as bid number 791 and 792. I'm going to look at bid 791 first. This was for the Marshfield campus, and just the items there that were identified as things that we need to change and make better. We had received 3 bids on that campus for this project. They were from Altman, Eagle, and Hitachi. The winning bid, the lowest bid, was actually from Hitachi, and it was for $63,800. And as these are bids, we need board action on them. So when it comes time, we basically need you guys to vote and approve the winning of this to Hitachi in the amount of $63,800. Are there any questions on the first bid?
Matthew, I don't have a question on the bid, but can those contractors work yet?
Yep, they can. It's kind of up to us, really, whether we're going to allow them. Originally, before all of this transpired, the plan was to start the day after Memorial Day, May 26th, and get the contractors, because that's our slower period during the summer, right? We have fewer students on campus. Now everything's just kind of up in the air as to when we get it done. We are doing some, like, I think, and I don't want to steal Karen's thunder, but the surveillance and security project that was recently initiated, they're rolling with that. So yes, we do have contractors on site. They can,
All right.
yes.
Thank
Yep.
you.
You're welcome.
And
Again,
if,
that's kind of up
Motion and a
to,
second.
and if,
sorry.
and if, Matt, we can make sure, if we can get that approval and that motion before we move to the second one, that would be great, Bob.
Okay.
All right, so we need a motion
This
and a
is
second,
Chuck.
folks.
This is Chuck. I'll make a motion to award the bid to Hatari for $63,800 on bid 791.
I'll second it. This is Betty.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Andy.
Robert Beaver,
Yes.
Betty Brusky Malik,
Yes.
Kristen Kress,
Yes.
Justin Herder,
Yes.
Richard Murden,
Yes.
Linnea Miller,
Yes.
Gordon Shallow,
Yes.
Charles Spargo.
Yes.
Okay, Matt.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, the second bid, very similar to the Marshville campus, except it was for the Wisconsin Rapids campus. There too, we received, just two bids in this instance. One was from Altman and the other was from Eagle. They were very close together if you're looking at the attachment. In the end, Eagle did win with a bid of $38,500. This too requires action approval by the board to award to Eagle in the amount of $38,500. Are there any questions on?
Oh, sorry. Motion and a second, please.
This is Betty. I'll move for approval of bid number 792 to Eagle Construction in the amount of $38,500.
This is Justin.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions? Further discussion? If not, roll call, please, Andy.
Robert Beaver,
Yes.
Betty Brusky Malik,
Yes.
Kristen Kress,
Yes.
Justin Herder,
Yes.
Richard Murden,
Yes.
Linnea Miller,
Yes.
Gordon Shallow,
Yes.
Charles Spargo.
Yes.
Okay, I think we have some information items, Rob.
Yes. One thing I was going to share some information on was our grant funding for FY21. So in mid-March, the system office provided us with our grant awards for the FY21 budget year. It's the same timing every year. Midstate won $1.8 million of awards, and we were especially excited to receive funding for the Manufacturing Operations Manager program. That's a 2-year grant. And we're also excited because we got some funding to improve our students' persistence and completion. So we hope that really helps our enrollment. It was a very competitive environment this year, so it's down a little bit from last year's award of $2.3 million. And we've worked all these into the FY21 budget, which we're going to be presenting to the Finance Infrastructure and any interested board members on May 8th.
May 6th, it says here. Is that 8th now?
Yeah, I was going right there. So this is a COVID problem, just some communication stuff on my end. So the information on here is wrong. You should just draw a line through it. The correct information is May 8th. That's a Friday, and it's 2 o'clock until 3:30. I anticipate we're going to end a little bit quicker than that, but it's May 8th at 2 o'clock. And Angie and I will work together to find the room because, in theory, that's a public meeting.
Are you going to try to do that over the phone or however you set it up?
We'll have a room, but I can imagine we're going to do it over the phone.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
And that was everything that I had. I'll open it up for questions or turn it back to Chuck.
Chuck, the only thing we would need, this is Shelley, if we could do an approval of the committee meetings from the March meeting, please.
Okay, is there a vote or a motion by someone present for that meeting to approve the minutes?
This is Linnea. I vote to approve the minutes.
Richard, were you there?
Yeah, sorry, on mute, I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Hey, Betty, you're up.
Okay, Academic and Student Services Committee. Now, I think I have to move and second to approve the minutes from the March 16 meeting unless somebody else can second them. But that would be approval of the March 16, 2020 Academic and Student Services Committee meeting. I would so move.
For a second. You'll have to second it too then, Betty. You must.
Okay, I'll second it too, Betty. All in favor? All in favor? Aye. We just had. Okay. We just had informational items, and I believe I should just turn it over to Dr. Mandy Lang. She's going to give us an update on the Mindful Project for Student Success, and then the virtual student life. Dr. Mandy?
Yes, thank you, Betty.
You bet.
So we piloted a mindfulness project this last fall, and I wanted to share the results with all of you. This came about because nationally, the percent of students experiencing anxiety in the last year from which they were surveyed has increased almost 20%, and this was from 2008 to 2017. I want to give credit to Julianne Rannick-Stoltz, who is one of our student success counselors, who brought this information back to the college after a conference last year. And she worked with faculty, our education services department, and our institutional effectiveness department to really develop a pilot project to study if mindfulness works to help students decrease anxiety and improve focus in class. So a little background on this. Mindfulness is really the practice of cultivating purposeful present moment awareness without judgment to the experiences that are arising inwardly and outwardly for the purpose of living a skillful and healthy life. In other words, it's a way of really relating to whatever is happening. So paying attention, noticing, not judging or not thinking, but really just paying attention to what is happening in the moment. So this pilot study consisted of 11 courses and 176 students on the Stevens Point campus. And this took place, as I mentioned, in the fall 2019 semester. Faculty led 5-minute mindfulness meditation exercises at the beginning of each class to help students focus. And from the beginning of the semester to the end of the semester, there were notable improvements in many of the areas that were researched, including a few of the following. The ability to focus and concentrate in class was improved. Engagement in class was improved. For this group of students, the feeling also of being well rested and having enough sleep. Remembering information from previous classes. Test anxiety was decreased, and worry about things outside of class improved. So when students were asked about the benefits of mindfulness in the survey, a few of the comments included, one said it helped them to relax at the beginning of class. One said they fell asleep easier. And another student said, even under extremely high stress, I don't lash out like I had been. I'm able to breathe and avoid conflict. Overall, really, it was found that mindfulness was a good resource to improve student focus and engagement in the class. The study was shared with others throughout the college, including our faculty. And then the resources were also added to Blackboard for faculty to use in their classes if they choose to do so. We also had the option where faculty were able to get a book called Mindful Learning and look at additional ways to incorporate mindfulness into their classes. 4 new faculty were trying it out this previous semester, or this current semester then, in addition to the courses from the previous semester. So any questions at all?
I'd like to take a look at that book. This is Betty.
Sure, absolutely. We can get that for you. Any other questions? Okay, I will move on to the next topic, virtual student life. So this was something that was really timely, but previously planned. So our student life team, led by Natasha Miller, has been working with our marketing team for a while to identify ways for student life and clubs to be able to engage with each other outside of the classroom, and to be able to promote student life and club events. This was part of developing a comprehensive student life plan, which is part of our overall strategic plan. So as I mentioned, the original purpose was to use the Facebook group, which is what we've done, as an additional avenue to promote student life and clubs. But it has really evolved and happened to work out well to really align with our move to virtual services due to COVID-19. And, you know, but this really was in the works before all that happened. So what does virtual student life engagement look like? We created a student life Facebook group, now has about almost 160 members, and they have something going on that they engage students in every day almost. So today was Motivational Monday, and every Monday is Motivational Monday. They've asked students to share an inspirational quote, a photo or a video, and things like that. There's been a talent show Tuesday, so we asked students if they wanted to show off their homework space, and you know, it can kind of give other students ideas too on how to create a better workspace for themselves. Wacky Wednesday, you know, students shared memes that interested them, or one of the posts was about, you know, pets as interns. I certainly have my dog as my coworker here. And then we have Think Tank Thursday, which is for one of the conversations. It was a chat about transitioning to online classes, and that really helped us from a college standpoint as well, try to get some insight into what students are thinking about that transition. There was also an outdoor scavenger hunt and an online documentary. So overall, we've really seen good engagement from students so far on this, and we're really looking forward to it growing. Any questions on that? Okay, Betty, that wraps up my report.
Thank you. Okay, Justin, Human Resources and External Relations Committee.
Yep, here I am. Okay, so we'll start off with the approval. We'll be looking for a motion in a second for the approval of the committee meeting minutes from March 16th, please. Bob, I'm going to be looking at you too. Okay, perfect. And Gordy, by chance, for a second? Maybe
Sure.
Bob as well. Perfect. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against say nay. Okay, perfect. And then we'll go past consent agenda items as there were none this evening, and then we'll go into informational items, the first being with Dr. Brzezinski. Security system install.
Well, hello. I'm happy to report the security system install is happening. So Systems Technologies, who won that bid, if you remember, has begun. They are really happy to be able to install where there's not only no students, but no staff present either. So they're clipping along. If you remember, this is a multi-year project. So we had used some capital funds from FY20 and some from FY21. And there's also two phases to the project itself. One is a camera surveillance system, and the other is a door access system. So where we're at right now, they began at the Wisconsin Rapids campus because Wisconsin Rapids had to be done first. The servers housing the system are in Wisconsin Rapids for all four campuses that are getting the system. So it had to be done first. So they put in the servers, and they're working on the interior work as far as running wire and installing cameras, and that is the interior work is almost complete at Wisconsin Rapids just because it's completely empty. They have saved the outdoor camera installation for last for a couple of reasons. Number one is weather. I don't know if you remember last week we got snow. So that doesn't bode well for installing outdoor cameras. And also, they want to do inside work when nobody's there because the outside work, it doesn't matter really to them if people are there or not. So, and the outside work is much slower. The outside cameras are much slower to install. So Wisconsin Rapids is moving along well. They also pulled some wires in Marshfield last week because they had an extra crew that was off at the other job. So that has started. Adams is the smallest job, and Stevens Point is the easiest because that campus is the newest. And no work has been done on either of those campuses yet, indoor or outdoor. And no work has been done on the door access system yet. The security systems comes first, and then we'll start on the access system. So my staff is telling me that they feel like they're on track to be about 50-50 at the end of the fiscal year, which is really where we wanted them to be. It's really going well. IT and facilities and security are all working together on this project, and it's without a hitch so far. So any questions on the security system install?
Any questions, folks?
No.
If none,
Nope.
I think Bobby's up.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to provide an overview for contract training, including the fiscal year 20 Workforce Advancement Training Grant extensions, and also what we're doing for the fiscal year 21 grant app. First of all, how has COVID-19 impacted the workforce training within the WTCS? We have been having peer-to-peer meetings regularly, and across the board, the effects of the pandemic have brought a halt to workforce training. The foremost concern, obviously, for our businesses is for them keeping their workforce safe, followed by keeping their businesses operational, and then finally down on the list a little bit is training for new skills. So I think that is pretty much conventional wisdom at this point. But how has it affected Midstate? All workforce training that we had scheduled in March and April has been put on hold. Now, I need to tell you that no client has canceled any of the scheduled training, but rather they've delayed it until we have a better understanding of where and when we can get in the plant, their plants or in their operations. We are looking forward to receiving more direction from the state on the shelter in place, or receive requests where they would like to resume training in some sort of alternate delivery method, or being able to practice the safe precautions that would be put before us. Knowing all of this, what are our strategies in contract training for combating the disruption? We are remaining in contact with our current companies that we work with, and we will reschedule when appropriate. I'd like to point out that no stakeholder has shown interest in going online with their training. And we have filed for an extension for the WAT grants. Those extensions, we were supposed to complete our training by the end of June, and now we are going to be extending through the end of November. We have created and distributed a newsletter called Upskill Update, and we're sharing that. And finally, we are working on our fiscal year 2021 training grant applications. We have 30 plus responses so far, and the emerging interest areas are leadership, crisis management, and technical skills. So it's interesting that this is the first time that crisis management showed up. for training, and we're very happy about that. So that pretty much concludes what I wanted to share with you on the contract training. Is there any questions? Okay, hearing none, is it all right if I move to my next topic?
Yeah, yep, we're ready.
Okay, just briefly on the continuing ed, very similar to the contract training where all in-person continuing ed has been canceled. It's affected both our professional development and our personal enrichment. Some colleges are offering some CE classes online, and we are looking into doing that as well. It hasn't been a big demand in the past, but it certainly gives us an opportunity to kind of look at some of those options. Mid-States continuing ed offerings, we have some that are going on. There's some cases where the continuing ed courses are required for individual credential attainment, licensure, those types of things. So the isometric drawing for construction trades, that's a continuing ed class in partnership with the academic folks, and we were able to postpone for 2 weeks, and we had 15 apprenticeship students that started back on April 16th in an online format. For CPR and life support training, extensions have been issued with regard to the expiration of the CPR or life support certifications for a period of 120 days, which began March 2020. So we are expecting to have some high demand requests for classes once we get back to some normalcy. We also are seeing in our professional development series, again, exploring some things that are going online, and our first CE course will be Excel online. So that's pretty exciting for us. Personal enrichment, these are the Something for Everyone classes. Wanted to share that most of those classes are amenable best to in-person format. However, we're creating some PSAs, some short videos, 3 to 5 minutes, kind of like a movie trailer to pique some interest, and we're kind of calling those Something for Everyone at Home series. So you'll be seeing something posted on our web and on Facebook with some little short snippets to try to engage and keep people interested in the college and our CE following. And then finally, we are working with our instructors to schedule the course at a later date over the summer or fall period. So that kind of concludes that. Are there any questions about Con Ed? Okay, hearing none, can I move to the next point?
Yes.
Okay, this was just, and Rob already spoke to it, this would be our training proposals and contract services. We actually were still booking, signing contracts and sending things out through the 16th of March, and that's when everything came to a stop. So we've got some half-month results, $26,948 worth of agreements that were signed, and we were able to send out about $14,700 worth of new proposals. So we're hoping when we get back in business, we should have a strong ramp up, and that would conclude that piece as well.
Okay, great, thank you. I think we're all set.
Thanks, Justin. Shelley, I think you're up for the discussion action.
I am, and I'm thinking to myself, where do I begin here? Because the last few weeks have put our college definitely in some uncharted water because of COVID-19, but not really uncharted water from a virtual online learning. And that's something that I really have been impressing upon the people that I'm talking to in my meetings. This is something that we have done for quite some time. We definitely have had to enhance what we're doing, and now needing to do it in different areas than maybe we have, but it's not something that we haven't done, and I think that's really important from a confidence standpoint for our students. I thought I would just briefly provide a timeline of events, kind of to let you know how we started and kind of where we're at today, and just really kind of a very high-level summary of many of the activities that we have accomplished, because we have really been thinking about our staff, our students, and our communities. I want to also be able to share some information on available funding, and we'll answer any questions that you might have. I'm confident, though, as I go through all of this, I know you're going to be pleased just like I am. Our staff and our faculty have stepped up in so many ways, And I'm really proud to say that they're being as proactive as they can be, because it's so easy to be reactive, but we're really trying to anticipate what's the next thing that might happen. Please know that throughout this situation, we have worked very hard to keep staff informed and really created a communication tree for the organization. First, the Office of the President email comes out, followed up with additional communication relative to that communication from Karen that would be going to all employees, more of the detail information. Then Deb would follow up to send her information to the faculty, Mandy to students, and finally Bobby to our community through our website. If you have not been on our website, I'd recommend that you go out at mstc.edu, and you'll see that we really have created a main repository for public COVID-19 related information. So when you think about, oh my gosh, how long has this been going on and what has Midstate been doing, it's really around kind of 7 key dates in my mind. And it was really good as I was preparing for this summary to kind of put it on paper, because it just seems like every week, every so many days, things change. So the first email that I sent out to the college was dated March 11th, so over a month ago. And the email really went out to the college just to inform staff of CDC guidelines around the control and the prevention of COVID-19. I had informed the staff that we would be forming a Midstate COVID-19 core team who would be monitoring the situation and would take any appropriate action needed in the future. There was an emphasis on that email regarding environmental hygiene, the importance of hand washing, and the promise again of creating a resource page for everyone. We also had informed that our student international travel for spring and summer 2020 had been canceled. The COVID-19 core team is made up of Mandy, Bobby, Deb, Karen, and me, and then this core team pulls in people as things are needed, especially Brad, Rob, and all the rest of the teams of the college. So that was March 11th. Then the next day, March 12th, is when Governor Evers officially declared a public health emergency in response to the new cases of COVID-19 in the state. On March 15th, just a few days later, due to the escalating COVID-19 concerns, the Midstate COVID core team made a decision that we would notify staff that we would be advancing the college's spring break. So rather than waiting until Monday, March 20th to go into spring break, we started spring break halfway kind of through the week prior to that. We did allow faculty and administration time to focus on finalizing the virtual learning options, because we had shared that when we came back from spring break, starting on March 30th, that we would be only in this virtual learning format. So that was going to be from March 30th to April 12th. And basically, when we made this decision on March 15th, we had until March 30th to really be up and running. That included virtual support services such as academic advising and registration, admissions, counseling, disability services, financial aid, payments, and more. You can imagine that it was all hands on deck to get all of these new things created or to enhance current processes, along with getting staff the appropriate devices. On the afternoon of March 17th, and it was very late in the afternoon, Governor Evers had declared an executive order prohibiting mass gatherings of 10 people or more, along with other restrictions. It was communicated yet that evening that Midstate campuses would now be closing, and staff would be working from home until April 12th, but our virtual learning platform would go on as planned starting March 30th. On March 24th, Governor Evers then issued the Safer at Home order from March 25th to April 24th. Communication went out to the staff and students that we will be extending the physical campus closure and would continue with virtual learning and services through Friday, April 24th. April 9th, I believe the board may have received a copy with the help of marketing, and I need to just say what a good job that they had done to, again, help me learn some of the tools. I did send out a video thanking staff and just really wishing them to have a good spring holiday weekend, just again to try to keep the engagement face to face. Up to that point, they were seeing a lot of narratives from me, but not my face. On April 16th, Governor Evers extended the Safer at Home order until May 26th. And due to that extension, I communicated to the college later that same day that our campuses would remain closed and we would remain in our virtual learning and service mode through Sunday, May 31st, and that's where we stand today. It was also communicated in that correspondence that our spring graduation ceremony will be rescheduled. We definitely want to do that for our students, and we are looking at either August or September at the Wisconsin Rapids campus. We will set that date when we know more when we can do that, but please know we'll make sure that we give students ample time for their planning. Any questions just on that timeline before I go into the support that we've given?
Sounds good.
Okay, from a student.
Go ahead, Shelley.
Okay, from a student support standpoint, when we started out, and I need to give Deb and her team kudos, 72% of the courses that we had on the spring semester, and we had over 460 courses, we could move to a virtual format for students. And now we are actually up to 80% for program and apprenticeship classes. Even the dual credit courses offered at the high school are continuing virtually with mid-state faculty supporting high school teachers. So that means about 20% of our coursework we need to do more live. So we're going to have to wait till we can get into either, again, the social distancing or different parameters. We did set up, and something I'm very proud of, called the iCare Student Support Line. It was established to address any student questions while our campuses are closed. We also, student laptop, we set up a loan program because we anticipated that so many students may not have a laptop, and how are they going to do this online learning? The Mid-State Foundation, they really stepped up, and they purchased 40 laptops, and they needed to make that decision within a 24-hour period. I'm happy to say that all 40 of those were deployed to students, and we have deployed another 6 through our college inventory to meet the student needs. We just, again, want to give kudos. I think actually they had purchased, we had got 40. I think there was one that was not working, so I think actually it was 39 that we were able to deploy what the foundation had bought, and then again, another 7 out of that. So we had a pickup time that if students needed, they could come to campus and be able to receive that. We also set up that student website resource kit for students, which includes the community resources, because we know in these hard times there needs to be information on the food pantry and crisis hotline information, and we wanted to make sure we supply that to our students. Again, besides the virtual advising, financial aid, bookstore, tutoring, academic support, student life, we made sure everything was working for our students. And we really committed to giving personal attention for students to be able to complete. We didn't want to have a number of students drop. We wanted to be able to show them that we are here for them and will work with them. You may recently have heard one of our new campaigns, which is Stay Safe and Stay on Track. And these are some new online webinars. So you have heard, I'm sure, at the federal level that there has been a 2020 CARES Act. And for students, that means that Mid-State was able to be approved for $764,006 through the Department of Ed for emergency student grants related to the disruption of college operations due to COVID-19. These funds will be dispersed directly to students in the form of grants through our financial aid department. We had to submit an application to be able to get that amount. That amount was based on a formula that the federal government had done based on our 18-19 enrollments. We have applied for this money and we were approved. A thank you to Mickey and Mandy for making that happen. And we did, as of last Friday, students could apply for this. And it has just been amazing. Mandy was keeping me updated. Within a 24-hour period, we had almost 500 students of ours apply for that money. Now, that is a first come, a first get type money, but we're so happy. And right now, the financial aid department will be working with them to be able to get to their money. We're hoping to maybe that disbursement can start next week. We're just waiting on the federal government to be able to start deploying the money. But I mean, I think that really is a testament. Students are able to receive a maximum of $1,500, and the many funding categories, there's housing, there's childcare, there's food, healthcare, etc. And what is so nice about this, everybody, is this is truly a grant. This is money that does not have to be paid back. And again, the purpose is to help these students be able to stay in school. From a staff support, we've had to disperse laptops and software to staff so they could work from home. We've had to disperse phone software, allowing computers to be linked to office phones. We have had to provide numerous training opportunities for faculty and staff to utilize resources and adjust learning activities to this virtual format. Microsoft Teams has been a wonderful asset to allow internal and external meetings. We have kept everyone on the payroll, I want you to know that, and have communicated that to the staff. And we also made the decision last week that we're going to allow some vacation time that people will not be able to use to be carried over to next year. We also have deployed all of the FFCRA employee benefits, including additional FML qualification and additional sick leave. We've provided self-care resources, including EAP and wellness information. We had done that both to staff and to students. And per federal work-study guidelines, we have continued wages for qualifying work-study students. From a community support, you already heard me mention the 3D printers, the gloves, the masks, the gowns. Saruji's chocolate, we donated 9 cases of Saruji chocolate to a local hospital just to kind of help the morale. Again, a number of our staff are participating in various state and local webinars and meetings to stay engaged, and participating as well in local economic recovery teams to ensure a smooth ramp-up. For additional funding, so part of that 2020 CARES Act gave money directly to the student. That was that $764,000 that I was sharing. There should be roughly about another $700,000 or so for us as an institution that we should be able to apply and hopefully be able to receive some. We do not know the details yet, but we're hearing that it could be dollars that would help us with our budget for lost revenue, reimbursement for costs already incurred regarding technology costs associated with transitioning to virtual learning. So we're just really waiting to hear those details, because definitely as a college, everyone, we will need that. Probably no surprise to you, but right now, education is not a priority for every household. So we definitely are hearing from some students who are now having to homeschool 2 children. They're just not able to stay in school, or they've had a spouse that has been laid off. So we definitely are seeing the enrollment trend decline that is really happening across America, and definitely trying to prepare for that. DMI, we're very pleased with them that typically each year there's an allocation that comes out to the colleges. That will be $50,000 that we should be able to use also for possibly some of the equipment or the software that we have had to purchase. And we did have Enbridge, which is an energy company, reach out to us to see if we have any needs to cover the PPC replacement costs, so programs could quickly resume for students with appropriate materials. So we're looking at that as well. And really Bobby and Mickey and really the executive team just continuing to look at any other allocations that could be coming out. We are hopeful there will be some dollars from the state, but none of that information has been shared yet with us. But in all of this work and the efforts that we're doing, I wanted to share a couple of comments that have come to some staff that have shared with me. Just have 2 of them. The first one being, every year I try to express my gratitude that I am allowed to be part of the Mid-State Technical College family. And every year I mean it, but never have I been as grateful as this year. And the second comment says, I want to commend you and the rest of the administration on the great work you are doing during this chaotic time. It's a little more calming knowing we have such great leadership, which definitely makes us all smile. This is really, though, we're all in this together, and I'm sure tomorrow or next week we're going to encounter something that we're not prepared for, but we will, and I very much said this on the video, we have showed that we can really weather the storm, and we will continue to do that. So just really proud of everybody for their efforts here. I truly feel like we're doing what we can, and we realize that some students will have to walk away from us, but we want them to come back. And so we're trying to also create some loyalty and give that student-centeredness and exceptional customer service to them. And for those students that are just kind of not sure if they can stay, We think that funding will be able to help them a little bit, maybe be able to finish the semester or enroll in summer or fall. But I can tell you across all WTCS, Bob, we're all worried about enrollments. And that's just you're going to hear that topic, I'm sure, in many meetings that you may all be part of. So, any questions? Otherwise, that would be my COVID-19 report.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, folks.
Can I add something? This is Betty.
Yeah.
Just to advertise that the District Boards Association summer meeting is still being planned for Marshfield, the Hotel Marshfield, July 23rd to the 25th. So we're still planning it. I guess we'll know more as we head through the summer. And then I just want to go back up to the item where I talked about the increase to the DBA budget. That roughly is about $36,800, which dispersed among the 16 colleges would be an increase of about $2,300 per college. So just so everybody is aware that we did approve the budget, so Mid-State will have an additional $2,300 stipend towards our DBA assessment. Any questions? Very good, then I'm finished.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for adjusting your schedules and what have you, and getting on the phone to make this call. And we'll see what the future brings us, folks.
Thank you very much.
To adjourn.
So moved, this is Betty.
I don't have a second. Justin, where are
We'll
you?
second it. I'll second that there, buddy. I second that motion.
All right. All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
Be
you.
safe. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a nice night.
Bye.
Good night.